Welcome, Climate Viewers. This is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News at ClimateViewer.com. Wow, there was a lot of bumps in the road there. Trying to get I set a restream scheduled event, and then the scheduled event disappeared on me. So as a backup and a quick fix, I went and got a code and everything. But regardless, I got a really big show for you today. I'm pretty excited about this one. Thank you to everybody who patiently waited in the lobby. I wanted to be able to do the schedule event. That way you guys know in advance when this is going to happen. I typically want to do these on Sunday at 3 o'clock. I ended up doing it at 4 o'clock because the schedule thing was like, hey, you got to do it at least an hour beforehand. But regardless, we got it live. I can see that it's working. So thank you to everybody who patiently waited. Let's get on with the show because obviously you've waited long enough. So we're going to talk today about Bill Gates and David Keith are back at it with their geoengineering Soapbox program. First talked about this in 2018. They haven't got their balloon off the ground in quite some time. So it's time to really stick it to them. Tell you what they're up to. Airplane industry is trying to do carbon sequestration to get out of their plane fart problems. And let's see, weather modification history, some updates on James Roger Fleming or Jim Fleming, Dr. Jim Fleming. Chinese weather modification and weather warfare, big update on that. And of course, we got to throw Henry Kissinger and the CIA under the bus before this is all said and done. Plus, finally, we're going to show you some of the new updates coming to weather modification history.com in the near future. So let's do this thing. All right, let's go. So Bill Gates' venture aims to spray dust into the atmosphere to block the sun. What could go wrong? Everything could go wrong. As you probably know, creating man-made volcanoes in the sky, using chemicals sprayed from planes and rockets and balloons and all that, probably a bad idea. And I can give you at least 20 or 30 reasons why Bill Gates and David Keith are so hated for what they're up to, but we'll get into that in just a little while. So this is dated January 11th, 2021. All of the details should be already pinned in the comment section of the video you're watching now. So, kind of pointless to drop this link, but this is the link you're going to want to share. Sharing is caring. Please be sure to share this video out. Know that everything you're doing is supported by viewers like you. So you can do that with a monthly donation on Patreon or a one-time donation on PayPal or GoFundMe. Please share it out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the button, smash the like button, punch the like button, drop kick it, spit on it if you like. I don't know how the thing works, but apparently it's a thing, and I would greatly appreciate that. Please do share this out if you can. I don't believe my restream chat thing is going to work this time. Obviously, things went horribly wrong with setting up the scheduled thing. So we're going to have to save that for another day. But regardless, we're going to just flip through these really quickly. I'm not going to really just make this an extremely long video by reading the entire articles to you. But Microsoft's billionaire founder Bill Gates is financially backing and developing a sun dimming technology that would potentially reflect sunlight out of the Earth's atmosphere, triggering a global cooling effect. The Stratospheric Controlled Perturbation Experiment, or Soapbox, launched by Harvard University, scientists aims to examine this solution by spraying non-toxic calcium carbonate dust into the atmosphere, a sun-reflecting aerosol that may offset the effects of global warming. Now, for those who've been following me for quite a long time, it went from aluminum dust to barium, there's strontium, diamond dust, sulfur was the big one. They seem to have settled on calcium carbonate. And a little insider info, calcium carbonate is also supposed to possibly repair the ozone layer. I can trust that about as far as I could throw David Keith, which is actually pretty far, but still, we're not going to get into that. So regardless, ScopeX, stratospheric controlled perturbation experiment. Perturbation sounds like masturbation, but all it basically means is modification. So I don't understand why they didn't just call it the stratospheric controlled modification experiment. It'd be called ScomeX. But, hey, we always got to use a bigger word so that hopefully people at home don't understand what the hell's going on here. So perturbation, to perturb or to modify, to change from its natural state. And it says controlled, although they really have no control over this. All they mean by controlled is they're going to control the squirt coming out of the balloon that they plan on launching. Another article on this. This is December 18th, 2020. Planned Harvard balloon test in Sweden stirs solar geoengineering unease. This is on Reuters. It says news.trust.org. We already went over trust on this, but regardless, a scientific paper on this, Aerospace Research Center, stratospheric aerosol release research experiments and aircraft for solar geoengineering. And they go over long duration, lighter than air, super pressure airship, SARA. And the Stratospheric Aerosol Injection Research Aircraft, SARE-01. And these are, some of the implementations, some of the devices used. And it says perturbative experiments using candidate sulfate and or calcite aerosols. Back to what I told you earlier, either sulfur or calcium carbonate, or it could end up being whatever the hell they decide, and probably will change over time if they ever legalize this crap. But that's just the insanity of all of this. So that being said, we're going to just remind everybody that I covered this back in 2018. This is December 13th, 2018. And as you can see here, this is, what's this? December 18th, something about December and dropping geoengineering bombshells, I guess. But regardless, David Keith's sun dimming experiment ScopeX possibly coming spring 2019, all the facts. And this was December 13th, 2018. Obviously, it never came in 19. They were supposed to launch it down in New Mexico, or actually in Arizona. And I, of course, razzed David Keith and I said, your balloon will never make it off the ground. And of course it didn't. With the help of some friends, I got friends in low and high places, and the ETC group really gave him hell over that. Thank God. But you may be wondering where this comes from, and it's also known as the Strato Cruiser Flight System. We'll go over that, but it originated, and I won't get into all of these details. All these details are already in the comment section of this video. They are pinned at the top. You can take your time to go through this. SCDHL, Cirrus Cloud Matter for real, NMOD AA, SCDHL. I'm from South Carolina, Department of Health, and I don't know. I've seen your name and I've always wondered what SCDHL means. So let me know in the comments. I'm watching this. Anyway, I won't go into Silomar and, these lunatics, but in other words, if the public comes to see geoengineering, as one attendee put it, a crazy idea cooked up by rich Anglo-Saxons to dominate the climate, then they will all be rightfully tarred and feathered. As a U.S. Department of Defense, forget about it. To this group, such involvement prompts nightmares of a new military industrial geoengineering complex. You really need to know the history. Those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. And this is from 2010 at the Asilomar Conference in Pacific Grove, California. Bill Gates funds geoengineering studies with his FISER program. the Fund for Innovative Climate Energy Research, David Keith, the guy that we're mentioning earlier, and Ken Caldera previously were the heads of distributing the funds from Bill Gates. That's why they're so prominent. But as you can see here, this was originally called the Strato Shield, hose to the sky. And the idea was to float a balloon up, to literally have a warehouse filled with chemicals, and then to spray it in the sky. This image is so old that this is from my original website on resonated.com. And this was Intellectual Ventures Lab. But this idea started back, this was 2008, 2009, I believe, when I originally gathered this stuff. And, now it has gone from the Strato Shield to the Strato Cruiser, which is part of the Soapbox Geoengineering Solar Radiation Management Field Test. Okay. And the idea, and for those who said, I like the comment, the preview image, this is the full image of it for weathermodificationhistory.com. But anyway, this is what it looks like. The idea is that you would float a balloon up, that you'd have, a device here that not only could spray the chemicals, but could also measure the ozone layer and the different layers of the atmosphere from the troposphere through the tropopause into the stratosphere, and see what chemical changes in addition to how much light is being blocked. Won't get too technical about that, but David Keith announces geoengineers plans for 2018 at 80,000 feet. And, he also goes on to say, how he's going to kill people with this. But, and then Stratospheric Sulfur Geoengineering Benefits and Risks by Alan Robach, 27 reasons stratospheric geoengineering is a bad idea versus only 6 reasons why it's a good idea. And out of the 6, only 3 of them are actually decent ideas. All of these are bad ideas, including way down here at the bottom, number 26, military use of technology, which we will get into much further and much more detail in just a moment when we get into the China situation. So just to reiterate what's going on here, David Keith's back at it. Bill Gates is funding it. It's not going to be in Arizona. They want to do it in Sweden. They want to do it as soon as possible. Why? Because Joseph Biden, President Biden has been now, in the office, and on day one re-signed the Paris Accord, or the Paris Climate Accord, the climate change agreement between all the United Nations members to limit their emissions. But the trick to this is that they say they want to limit global heat warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, and they all recognize, they all recognize that goal is unattainable, that people are not going to stick to it. So geoengineering is, the Band-Aid that's going to get us through. It is the elephant in the room. It is the plane fart in the sky that nobody really wants to focus on. And you sure as hell are not going to hear about it in the mainstream media, except the occasional mention on, obscure science websites, and occasionally like Forbes magazine, because business cares about these sorts of things. So let's just move on. So Soapbox possibly coming to a Swedish sky near you, and having global implications for all of us. So over here, United Airlines turns to CO2 removal technology to offset emissions. Basically, you guys probably know that I went to the EPA hearing on flight pollution in 2015. I gave them hell about planes making clouds, and how clouds were much more damaging to the environment than CO2 or nitrous oxide ever will be, even though that's what Obama was trying to get regulated. Well, they've really caught on to the fact that planes do have a major role to play in climate change. And they basically trap heat at night more than they cool during the day. Therefore, they change the what's called diurnal temperature range. They change how much of the sun's energy is trapped at night. That heat should escape back to sky at night. It does to space at night. It doesn't. Therefore, they got a real serious problem on their hand. So they want to go to carbon sequestration to try to get carbon credits to try to avoid all this. I think he will hand it over to China. Vicky Zaccardo says, you couldn't be more right. Climate change may help the U.S. and China find common ground under a Biden administration. This makes me want to throw up because at the end of the day, China will not at all adhere to any of these things, and they're not even required to under the Paris Accord. However, we are, and since day one, Biden has been killing oil jobs. The reason this matters to you, and I want to make this very clear, I don't talk about politics on here because basically geoengineering and weather modification are not a left-right paradigm, Republican, Democrat thing. This is a everybody issue. So I hate, and I don't like using the word hate, I strongly dislike all politicians equally, Republican, Democrat, and anywhere in between. There are very few that I find palatable, let alone someone that I would ever endorse. There's a couple politicians that I think are, good-hearted people, and I like them. But generally speaking, all politicians equally shit to me. So that being said, a common interest in combating climate change could be a catalyst for the Biden administration to re-engage with China. Biden has pledged to rejoin the Paris Climate Accord, an agreement adopted by nearly every country in the world in 2015. The president-elect has also named former Secretary of State John Kerry to a new position of Special Presidential Envoy for Climate with a seat at the National Security Council. My God. My God. So, geoengineering is back on the table. Bill Gates and David Keith are working hard to get their balloon floating in Sweden, and Biden and co., which is basically Obama 3.0, is back at it by trying to appease the Chinese while working the climate change agenda as fast as possible. Notice they don't ever talk about global warming. They just talk about climate change because it's so much more nice to talk about the climate change and not talk about pollution that actually affects us or is killing people. So this is all, much ado of nothing but, to the point I was trying to make. Maybe you forgot. I certainly haven't, because it hurt my wallet pretty bad. But under the Obama administration, gasoline was $4 freaking a gallon in South Carolina. Now, I'm sure that there are many of you shaking your damn head because you live in other states and you don't pay low gas prices like I do in South Carolina. But literally a month ago, I was paying $1.60 a gallon. Okay? In, I believe it was France, they had the yellow vest movement because people were outraged over gas prices and climate change taxes on gas prices. Artificially inflating gas prices directly affects the poorest among us. And I am poor. I am not a rich man. I do not have a big budget. I certainly don't have a driver. And me and my family will be directly affected when gas prices hit $4 and $5 a gallon again. So the poorest among us are going to bear the brunt of this, even though 5 tankers that ship bullshit from China to Walmart produce more CO2 than every car on the planet combined. Keep that in mind. So I'm making this prediction today. When the gas hits $4 and $5 a gallon, probably more because you don't live near Charleston like I do in South Carolina. I live in Sumter, South Carolina, where gas is cheap. When gas hits that $4 mark, maybe then you'll realize this climate change agenda ain't so good for your wallet and is really going to screw a lot of people up. People are already screwed up and up over the COVID situation and how they've literally screwed everything up and destroyed our economy. Now they're really looking to destroy our economy. So buckle your seatbelts, people. It's going to get real freaking interesting, real freaking quick. Over on weathermodificationhistory.com, you can see that I had this section on Dr. James Roger Fleming, personal hero of mine, the world's preeminent historian on weather modification. And I was able to interview him at the 21st Conference on Planned and Inadvertent Weather Modification. Also a trip made possible by you guys on a GoFundMe. I was able to fly out to Austin, Texas and go to the American Meteorological Society's 98th annual meeting and meet my hero and interview him. If you have not watched this video, please do. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite things. And real quick, let me grab something. Just 1 second. And I am back. So I just wanted to grab this just to, for some visual reference. He wrote the definitive book on this subject. Fixing the Sky, the Checkered History of Weather and Climate Control. Okay? If you really want to learn a lot about weather modification, you can do that on weathermodificationhistory.com. But this guy right here is very important to me. So important that one thing we have in common is that our logo both come from a 1954 Collier's magazine. You can't make this stuff up. So yeah, I'm a big Jim Fleming fan. If you guys don't know about James Roger Fleming, you can get this book on Amazon.com. In personal correspondence with him, he said, "Hey, you've got so much of the history that's from my book in your website. You didn't even cite. How about at least cite me?" And I was like, "I actually haven't read your book, but I'm a big fan of yours." So I, of course, went out and bought the book. And the minute I see him again, I'm going to make sure that I, get him to sign it. But if you scroll down weathermodificationhistory.com to right here, you can see that I did include a link directly to it, and you can click over on that and go to Amazon.com or other places. You don't have to buy it from Amazon. This was the easiest way to do it. But Fixing the Sky, the Checkered History of Weather and Climate Control, Columbia Studies in the International and Global History, illustrated January 31st, 2012. You can get it in paperback. I got it in the Dead Sexy hardcover edition because I need a nice fat signature right there one day. Mr. Dr. Fleming, if you're watching this, please know that's coming. But anyway, this video was not endorsed or paid for by Dr. Jim Fleming, just to be clear. I absolutely look up to this fella. So, anyway, so the point about me bringing all this up is that I was updating weathermodificationhistory.com and I was down here checking links and I went to contact Dr. Fleming and wouldn't you know it, I got a big fat 404. which had me concerned. So then I was like, well, let me go to Jay Fleming History on Twitter and see what's up with that. Diane Renee, hi, Jim in Philadelphia. It's snowing, and I'm not sure if it's man-made weather or natural. And that's a good question, because I doubt very few people could prove either way right now, which is why I push for the Environmental Modification Accountability Act. I really hope that, we all can get behind that. That is clearly not it. I thought I had it on there anyway. Got to work on my buttons, but really, we need some kind of verification system to be able to tell that. That's one of the things I'm pushing. So I really appreciate your donation, Diana. Thank you. So I was going to update all this, and of course, then I noticed jfleminghistory.com. This account doesn't exist. Oh no, what has happened? My hero is no longer on the Twitter either. Now, you put 1 and 2 together and you go, well, his contact information has just appeared off of Colby University. His Twitter is gone. I'm going to be shooting him an email to try to figure out, what the hell is going on with that. But regardless, we had some very interesting conversation. And, I tweeted about this, rest in peace, James Roger Fleming's Twitter account, because we had talked about something in the video, which you can see here when I interviewed him. And you guys have probably heard of the butterfly effect. And the butterfly effect's, basically the short version of it is, if a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, does it affect weather in North America? And it's just talking about how one small perturbation, the word of today is perturbation, one small modification of the weather in one location can have greater effects on weather in another location, or even climate over the long term. And I asked, could ground-based cloud seeding generators, like the ones seen here on the ClimateViewer 3D map, I said, not quite a Mothra yet, but I still have 10 states to map out. And I linked this to him. And he actually did say, no, this is a Mothra effect. This would classify as a Mothra effect. And of course, I linked, the stuff underneath it, deleted, the tweet's been deleted, where he actually responded to me. And you can see that this tweet from this account no longer exists. But, and then video evidence of, the actual original tweet here, where you can actually see this is what he said, the Mothra effect. Because I had said, listen to James Roger Fleming talk about the Mothra effect of massive cloud seeding projects the size of the Rocky Mountains. And this is his Twitter account before it was deleted. So interesting, stuff going on there. I'll figure out what the heck's going on with it. But let's lead into the next one. And coincidentally, have another tweet from Jim Fleming right here. China's mind-blowing weather modification, geoengineering, and ELF, extremely low frequency transmitter projects. This is from January 6, 2019. Thousands of cloud seeding generators in Tibet, a new ionospheric heater, steering rivers in the sky, and an ELF transmitter 5 times the size of New York City. Jay Vela, I agree. On its surface, it seems like a purge of all of his information. But I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. I'm going to hold judgment until, because, I've contemplated deleting my Twitter and social media so many times. He may have just got off of it to save his own sanity. And I would give him an applause for that. At the very least, a nice little golf clap. But regardless. So right here, you can see, I said, ETC group calling Chinese plan to cover Tibet and cloud seeding generators a geoengineering project. Do you agree that this is a Mothra effect, or that you should classify this as geoengineering? See tweets above. I'll forward you their email. Now, this is straight from the man who wrote the book, This is a man who is a member of the Forum for Climate Engineering Assessment, who has been in in congressional testimony, was at the National Academy of Sciences, CIA-funded study on climate intervention. This is the go-to guy for not only, government lawmakers and scientists alike. Been cited by more than anybody else on this subject. This is his opinion. Yes, massive chemical cloud seeding of this type and the type proposed in the 1950s by Irving Langmuir are of the scale to be considered climate intervention. Now, let me translate this for you because it's very important what he says here. That if you do cloud seeding on a large enough scale over a long enough period, that cloud seeding, which is weather modification, could be considered geoengineering. His opinion, well-informed opinion. Now let's get to China. So, I covered things like this, China covering Tibetan, thousands of cloud seeding generators. This is what they look like. You can see all of these links in the details, how cloud seeding generators work. This is called orographic cloud seeding. It's where you put ground-based cloud seeding generators on the ground. Air that's rushing up over the mountains carries the chemicals into the sky, makes rain, makes snow. Snow drops on mountains. Mountains melt. We get lots of runoff. That's how all this works. And this is the area that they want to do. And here are all of the different rivers in China that are fed by the Tibetan Plateau. So you can see the importance of this region. China and Russia work together on ionospheric heating experiments. Won't get into all of that stuff. This is me talking to Chris Fallon, ex-director of HARP, and we talked about, what was actually going on there. And you can read about all that. But regardless, move on. China plans rapid expansion of weather modification efforts. This is December 3rd, 2020. Ambition to cover area more than 1.5 times the size of India, likely to concern country's neighbors. Now, this would just be another article, pretty much same thing that I had covered back here, except for when you get down here towards the end, you see some pretty interesting stuff because I talked about all this stuff, the 2008 Olympics, the Tiani Sky River project. But this is the one that got me right here. Even before the latest announcement, Indian websites have speculated that China is weaponizing the weather and may already be disrupting rainfall patterns. Yeah, Katie Cat. Weather warfare involved. India seems to think so. So we're going to call the whole government of India conspiracy theorists? I think not. There's little credible evidence to this, says The Guardian, but China would not be alone in trying to alter the weather for strategic purposes. So let's go into that. When they say, this is from the Economic Times, in the India Times, India Times. I want to make sure it wasn't Indian. Links all in the detail. Read all about it. Senator Claiborne Pell, SCDHL, knows his stuff. Obviously read something, which is more than I could say for 90% of the internet that doesn't read anything anymore, just the headlines. China has built up its muscle on how to turn weather into a weapon. Can India match up to it? A weather warfare arms race? Yeah, this is not looking good. So much for NMOD. Now, how many people can name this photo? Quick test. Anybody in chat? Anybody in chat knows what this photo is, who these people are, why they're important. Oh, don't want to give you a peek. Come on. Anybody? Scream it out loud. Who's nerdy enough to know this photo? Anybody? This is Project Storm Fury. This was NOAA doing hurricane modification. Also on weathermodificationhistory.com. I have this photo, the original, not cropped, the original. But regardless, pretty interesting stuff. So I don't know why I didn't move this out of the way a long time ago. Let me get that out of there. All right. Weather as a weapon. This is from IndiaSentinels.com. Weather as a weapon, new threat emerging from China controlled Tibet. Friday, 17th of July, 2020. This is earlier. But if you've ever watched the movie 7 Years in Tibet, or if you know anything about the history of Tibet in China, this will have you outraged. This will have you outraged. So yeah, they plan on covering all of the Tibetan plateau in cloud seeding generators on a scale that's so large that it could be considered geoengineering, and, as India is clearly putting it, weather as a weapon. Why is this important? Can the CIA weaponize the weather? This was the other link from The Guardian to itself. And this is from way back in 2015 when Alan Robach, guy I mentioned earlier about the reasons why geoengineering is a bad idea, got a call from the CIA asking if somebody were screwing with our weather, would we know it? And he said, probably. And the short answer on that is, no, you wouldn't. Which is why I put together the article, Henry Kissinger, the CIA, and Weather Warfare, to educate people on this sort of topic. May 24, 2018, Operation Popeye, Cuba's sugar crops and geoengineering, its national security and conspiracy fact. And you can read all of the links and details on that. Most of these are to weathermodificationhistory.com posts. And of course, my solution to all of this, which is the Environmental Modification Accountability Act, which I've been thinking a lot about lately, especially under the consideration that the Environmental Modification, Convention was signed by the United Nations. They never made a way to catch people doing weather warfare. The problem is the United Nations is useless. I mean, from the World Health Organization saving us from COVID to the United Nations Environmental Program and the IPCC's CCCCC, just all things United Nations, globalists, they make me sick to my stomach. Now, weather warfare is a global issue, so there has to be some way to regulate this on a global scale. But I'm really having trouble with dealing with this. But the whole idea is an act to end atmospheric experimentation without notification, and to create an international registry of atmospheric experimentation so that we can sue people if they hurt us, catch people doing weather warfare. And the idea is constantly in revision, and it's in my thoughts right now. And why is this? Because if you go to weathermodificationhistory.com right now, you can click on, you can go to show all, and it's going to show you things like David Keith's thing, Hands Off Mother Earth Manifesto, Iran accuses Israel of cloud theft. You can sort through these, just show the old days of pluviculture, cloud seeding, geoengineering posts, space weather modification with things like HARP. Or you can click right here, go show all, and hit tags and click on weather warfare and only see the posts on weather warfare. And you can see things like President Kennedy, President Johnson running their mouth about it, and sort through these, how the CIA did Project Nile Blue, Operation Popeye, Motor Pool, and all of that. And this is an example. This is Operation Popeye, where we did weather warfare over Vietnam. So the problem with this is that, I want to update this. This is pretty much nearing the end of the video. Please stick around. I'm almost done. I've been really, wanting this to be taken even more seriously than it has. Now, it's already been cited on multiple scientific journals and even Wikipedia, of all places. I mean, I never thought I'd see the day where one of my websites would be cited on Wikipedia. But if you go to you go to Wikipedia and type in weather modification, you will see right here, in the military, Operation Popeye was a highly classified operation run by the U.S. military in 1967 and 1972. 24. Bam! Oh my God. Does that say Operation Popeye, Motor Pool, Intermediary Compatriot, Weather Warfare over Vietnam, Weather Modification History? And it links directly to weathermodificationhistory.com. What just happened there? So I'm going, bro, we made it to Wikipedia on something as controversial as Operation Popeye. Interestingly enough, if you actually go to the Operation Popeye page, yeah, they don't mention anything about us because they basically just took literally they copy pasted stuff from my site. As you can see here, objectives. Does that look anything like this? Goals right here. Objectives. I mean, they literally copy pasted everything, and we were cited on this page as well. But then they went and just down to the, the reference section and took all the references like Seymour Hersh, and the Pentagon Papers and all that, and just moved it over, into their reference section because we were on here. But regardless, I saw what you did there. So mentioned on the weather modification page, not mentioned on the Operation Popeye page. But regardless, the reason why is because of how damn good this looks. The other one that they mentioned was Project HARP. And you can see that here. This is Project HARP, or the High Altitude Research Project. And as you can see right here, Project High Altitude Research Program, HARP cannons launch chemical payloads into space, weather modification history, also linked on Wikipedia and cited because of its accuracy. And as you can see here, this is the page that's actually cited. And the reason why is because, this is the new version. You should have. No dog talk. Video's almost over. So this is the Project HARP cannons. And as you can see here, you go down to the bottom, you actually see the cannon that fires all of that stuff right here, and a hole in the ground made by one of the HARP cannons and that sort of thing. In addition to numerous, articles written about it, which you can't get anywhere but weathermodificationhistory.com. Thanks to my boy Dominic Marama. HARP cannons. Yes, there was a HARP in 1964, which is still at the, trying to think of the place. Still there. We'll say hi. We'll say hi, Caroline.
Sure. Hi.
My family's home. They went for tacos, which means it's taco time, people. So let's wrap this up. Anyway, so the new version of weathermodificationhistory.com looks like this. I've done it in reverse order now, and I've simplified all of the tags. So now it's just weather modification, geoengineering, and space weather modification. In addition, you can still see that the weather warfare stuff down here, but I put it back in reverse order. So now that it's going from the oldest to the newest. And of course, I think it looks way better this way. I had a white background on this and all that. Just visually, it looks better, and it works better. So you'll be able to come in here and do the exact same thing, go to weather modification, weather warfare, all that sort of thing, geoengineering, all of those different things. And if you look in particular at the Operation Popeye, compared to the other one, before, what I had was basically this was the reference section, which was generally just, a bunch of links. So references, not exactly references. So what I've been spending so much time and effort doing is making sure that this is MLA formatted so that it gets picked up by Google Scholar, so that more scientists and politicians, policymakers take this seriously. This is a labor of love, because now you can actually go up here, and when you're reading this stuff, what you'll see is they actually have reference links just like Wikipedia does, and you can click, well, where did this come from? Bam. It'll click you down to the references section, highlight it, tell you the title, where I got it from, Sunshine Project, and a link to the original, not a hyperlink. Gallery for 2005 Air Weather Reconnaissance Association link, all of this, Whiskey Charlie, the history of the WC-130, Hercules, that were doing the weather warfare, Motor Pool, the rest of the story. So you can also click right here on any one of these references, Pentagon Papers, by, Jack Anderson, the man, and you can click 6, come back up here, and it'll highlight that for you. I wrote that pretty little piece of code, and I was just very tickled with myself because I've been wanting to do that for a long time. So why is this important? Because now we've got real references, related timeline entries, which you can click through, related articles, the Environmental Modification Accountability Act. And at the bottom of all of these beautiful references, if any one of these references does not work, you can simply pick this up, grab that, drop it in here, and click on that, and it'll take you over to archive.org and check for an archive. If the page has been deleted, it's not even, this page is available on the web. Save this URL to the Wayback Machine, and you can actually go save it if it fails. But pretty neat stuff. So any one of these, you should be able to grab them, come up down here to the broken link section, hit enter, and it'll take you to archive.org, show you all the different saved versions of it. You can go like here, click on that, and you can bring up, that way they're saved forever, and you have a way to go and check them even if they get deleted in the future. And you'll also notice they are no longer hyperlinks, they are text. And this is because when these are deleted from the internet, as they often are, what happens is if malware is installed on the website and I'm linking to it, they kick me out of the Google search engines. They kick me out of everything. They block it on all the social media. So for now on, what's going to happen is all of my stuff that links to an external source, even if it's my own Scribd page, or it's Wikipedia, which clearly isn't going anywhere soon, like Claiborne Pell, that these are just text links. So you have to actually go and right click them and hit go to, or copy them and paste them into your thing. That saves me trouble in the future, and I don't have to go back through and redo all of these links all over again. But you can come down here to the bottom, and the media is now grown quite significantly. And you can see the silver iodide racks on the side of the WC-130, a nice close up there. The RF-4s that were flying along with them, the actual planes that flew the missions and weather warfare in Vietnam. The WC-130 right there, Hercules. Jack Anderson, the reporter who broke the story, Senator Claiborne Pell, who actually held the hearings, which led to the actual environmental modification conference. And this is the original Pentagon paper where they talked about weather modification. This was hard to find. This was so hard to find. But this is the actual original paper. It's just priceless to be, archiving this stuff. Weather War Outcry, Peter Bernstein. I've got all of the original articles on this. U.S. turns rain into war weapon by Seymour Hersh of the New York Times. This is the original article. And the list goes on. CIA rainmaking over Laos has only indifferent results. Acts of God in Congress, and the list goes on. So I hope that you guys will continue to support what I'm doing. I hope that you find some informative value in this video. If so, please leave me a like, comment, hit that subscribe button. Sharing is caring. And of course, anybody who feels like, supporting my work, everything I'm doing, including this video, is completely free of charge, and Creative Commons, meaning you are free to copy it, download it, back it up on a DVD, send it to your friends, send it to your neighbors, upload it to your own social media, upload it to your, DLive, Twitch, wherever you want to, as long as you just give a link back to the original video. And I would greatly appreciate that. So please, help me out by supporting my work. Hit that subscribe button. This is the official link. If you get worrisome dreams before surgery, cancel surgery. I'm gonna worry. And anybody who has a brain will worry. I do not have a post office box. In fact, if anybody wants to actually see it, you can go directly to ClimateViewer.com, click About. And I'm so crazy that I literally put my address right there on the website. Well, it was right there. What happened? Did I remove it? It was right there. What's it on the terms page now? I know it's here somewhere. Too far. I could have swore it was on here. No? Reuse license. Huh. Anyway. My address, which I will put in the chat right now, is 15 Trip Drive. Anybody that wants to send anything, 25. Damn, failing here. 25 Trip Drive, Sumter, South Carolina, 29153. Boom. And you can Google that. So, you can take a look at where I live. It's big, double wide. It's beautiful. We've really made the place look wonderful. The Illuminati has furnished me with the finest double wide that, they can provide. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate everybody who supported me over the last, 12, 13 years. And, I really appreciate everybody who supported my work and shared it out. Because as you all know, I am very censored. I am very behind the ghost wall. So any sharing that you can do to get the word out, always appreciated. Like I said, I will try to continue to do these between 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock Eastern time every Sunday. I'm going to continue to call it the Geoengineering Sunday Soapbox. And we'll do another episode next week. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your patience at the beginning with all the problems we had. And remember that, I dropped a lot of information in this video. And a lot of people, they just want to be entertained. They want to watch somebody, play Among Us or shoot people, get some headshots. I play a lot of video games. That's what I do to blow off steam. I listen to music and I play video games. When I'm not working on ClimateViewer or weathermodificationhistory.com. So, what I'm trying to say here is that with all this information comes power, and with power comes great responsibility. So please use this information to attack ideas, not people. Love you, mean it. Stay safe. If this video resonates with you, leave me a comment because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. The bell doesn't always work, So come to ClimateViewer.com and sign up for our newsletter. Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.